Hey everybody, I'm Red. I'm going to give you some rundown of the Vibe Code Blueprint. VibeCodeBlueprint.com is where you can find the link to the community of the training. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to show those of you that are non-technical how to actually get an app up and running in a little more technical way instead of just using something like Lovable or Bolt. Because we need you to understand that as you launch these apps and they start to go live, you will eventually need technical people involved. There's no world in where developers will not be needed. I'm sorry, despite the pipe dreams of AI taking over everything, you're going to see how many mistakes this thing makes all of the time, and it's very scary. So that's why I created the training course, vibecodeblueprint.com, or if you want to pick me up for one-on-one consultation, fractional CTO work, or anything of the above, vibecodetrainer.com. So anyway, we're going to get started. I'm in my terminal right now. This is a terminal called Warp. I'm working in a Windows environment, and that's just coincidence. This can be done inside of Mac or Linux, really doesn't matter. If you're a non-technical person, you are more than likely in Windows or Mac. So I'm in my projects folder. We are going to start with creating a simple vibe-coded task list. It's the easiest thing to just really get started, just so you can start to understand how this works. All right, so inside of my terminal, you can find the download instructions at vibecodeblueprint.com, but you basically just go to warp.dev, download and install it like you would any other piece of software. This gives you AI inside of the terminal. So one of the things that we're going to start doing is we're going to be working with a tech stack that is called Node and JavaScript. It's very common and easy to get started. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to install something called Node.js. And that will come with something called NPM and NPX. Now, the reason I said to use Warp is because you can actually type to it, please install Node.js and NPM. Now, you just hit enter and it'll kind of go to the races. I already have this installed, so I can't really show you what it looks like. But it will do it for you, which is really nice. It figures out your environment and gets everything up and running. Now, once we're up and running, we're going to go ahead and type npx create -Vite at latest. So we like using Vite because it's one of the package managers that actually helps keep things collected and work really well. It's modern. A lot of developers know what it is. And we're going to go ahead and create, let's say, Vibe Code Planner. So this will be our planner that we're going to build to try to keep track of what's going on day to day in our lives. So that'll spin for a little bit. This is going to ask you some options. Do you want to use vanilla JavaScript, Vue, React? There's a whole bunch of others that are in here. You'll find arguments online about Svelte versus React, but for right now, we're just going to pick React because if your app does take off, these are going to be the easiest developers to find. You have a couple of different options are in here, so without explaining all of these and trying to be technical, let's just pick TypeScript for right now, and there you go. So if we go to Vibe Code Planner, you can see we're in a very basic directory. We're going to run the npm install, which brings down all of our packages, which are dependencies and code that's needed to make the site actually work. This will take a couple seconds. And then we're going to type npm run dev, which means we're going to run a dev server locally. And so what it'll do is it'll spawn up a web server for us. We're going to control and click on this right here, and it's going to load up the basic Vite plus React app. And if you click, it keeps track of account, which is kind of cool. This in the development world is something called a hello world. It's very basic, like, hey, it's up and running. All right, this is where you should be at this point. So now, one of the things that you also need to go ahead and get a hold of is something called Cursor. You can go to cursor.com. AI code editor, you're going to want to download this guy. And then you're going to want to also get something called Claude Code. So Claude Code is a terminal-based editor which uses agents, and it works very, very, very well. And I cover all of these things inside of the blueprint with some more detail. This also uses that NPM nomenclature that we just talked about, so it makes it really easy. Once you are in with a period saying, let's run in the directory that I'm currently in right now, that's going to kick up Cursor for me. All right, now you can just use Cursor if you'd like to go ahead and start coding. That's what a lot of developers do. There's nothing wrong with it. I personally like using Claude Code. So I'm going to hit the terminal window over here on the side. We're going to type the word Claude. And then we're going to say yes to the question. So now Claude has figured out that we're in a directory. We're going to start by initializing it. So we type /init. And then Claude's going to go ahead and go through the basic hello world of the code. This is actually really good because then it understands that you're using TypeScript and that it knows that it's the hello world and we're starting from the very basics. Okay, so once it's done, it will go ahead and give you what's called a markdown file. It's claude.md for markdown. And this is a basic set of instructions and information that Claude will use to understand what's going on in your project. I suggest running the initialize command a couple of times through the development process so it can keep track of what's going on in case you lose the context and have to come back to it later. So now it asks you, do you want to go ahead and edit this? You kind of always wanted to do that, so we're going to say yes and allow for all edits during this session. All right, I'm going to hit enter. All right, it's created that file, and there we go. Now it's done. Okay, so now what are we going to actually do here? Okay, so what I went ahead and did is I just wrote up a prompt. The Vibe Code Planner is a modern-day personal planner. It should allow me to add tasks with date, times, and due by, as well as notes and associated email addresses in case I need to communicate anything about the task. Anything to them about the task. All right, I'm going to go ahead and paste that in place. I'm going to hit enter. And this is about what you would probably type of what you're trying to build. The more information you give Claude, the better it will do. So this definitely could have been heavier thought through in the sense of we could have explained how I want the front page to look, the design, the feel, the aesthetic. But a lot of that takes some time to think through, and that's something that you're not probably used to. So we're just going to run with this so that you can get experience and exposure to how vibe coding works. And then once we actually have something that's been built, over time we can start to improve on how we code better and more like a software developer, even if you're not super technical. Okay, so it's finished running, and now it wants to try to run your building scripts, which just go ahead and let it do it. It'll run into some errors, and now it's going to go fix those errors. One of the reasons we picked TypeScript is because TypeScript over standard JavaScript is more strict on the way that you structure your information. And that's going to be important when you're not very familiar with what's actually happening, right? So all of this stuff happening here is code. And if you're not familiar with coding at all, and this looks all foreign to you, the more structure you can have the system do, the more difficult it is for AI to go completely off the rails and for you to end up with some big piece of crap at the end of the day. All right, so now it's running something called lint. Lint is a format and syntax checker. It's making sure that everything's in the right place, in the right order, structured correctly. So it's kind of checking to make sure that the code isn't going to completely freak out on you. So now it's telling you to run npm run dev, and you should be able to see the server. So we're going to hop back over to the terminal here. Npm run dev. All right, and this is what it came up with. So we have Vibe Code Planner, your modern personal task planner. We can add a new task. We can search for tasks. That's cool. We have no active, no complete, no tasks. Add your first task to get started. Cool, let's do that. Oh, nice. All right, task title. Finish the Vibe Code Planner video, which is what we're working on right now. All right, finish recording, get it to YouTube and YouTube and TikTok. That is going to be a today thing. We're currently in September. Let's do this by 10 o'clock p.m. That is also due today by 11 o'clock p.m. Additional notes, associated emails. We don't need to do that, so we'll just go ahead and add task. Hey, look at that. 2200 military time. We can edit, we can delete it. And didn't I put in a note? I thought I did. Okay, so, look at that. We can't read it. All right, so, now we're going to tell Claude to fix this. Okay, After I enter a task, the note section is white text on a light gray background. I can't read it. You could probably just end the statement there and it'll try to fix it. But what I want you to do is start elevating yourself, learn how to do these things better, become more aware of what developers actually have to go through when you start to come into this space. So we follow something called WCAG, which is the accessibility guidelines for the internet and how accessibility works, how clicks should work, how audio should work, how the structure of your web pages should work, color contrast for people that have sight impairments, all types of different things. And so having an accessible site is highly important. And so you want to call it out that it specifically needs to follow these standards. So now there's 3 different levels. There's single A, double A, and triple A. Triple A is really extreme, and sometimes it is necessary to do that, but it is also difficult to style a site. In triple A standards, you essentially, it's like bare text. Pretty much can't have any styles whatsoever. Double A is more flexible, and it's how you can have a modern and sexy looking site, but also maintain accessibility for those that have any kind of sight impairment. All right, so it just did it in real time. The color is already changed. It's actually now going to go through and find other potential issues, which is nice. All right, so the only thing I'm going to call out is the placeholder text is difficult to read. It didn't seem to fix it, but we can keep pushing through. But now you start to understand some of the difficulties that vibe coding brings, is that this will be a potential issue in the future. Name for this task fix. Oh, cool. All right, so it's individual cards. Should have a setting to change between 12 and 24-hour format. For this here, especially since these are in 12-hour format, and this is in 24-hour, which is odd. Maybe it'll give me like a little gear or something. I don't know. Okay, so it looks like it's done and added some stuff. Let's go ahead and check it out. Oh, that's weird looking, but okay. All right, so we said done. Oh, look at that. And it did change. Let's go to 24-hour format. And everything changed to 24 hours. Okay, so there you go. That is how you vibe code a simple app. And now I guess the question is that you would have, how did this know to save this information? Refresh the page. We didn't create a database. Well, now go look at some of the code. It created something called local storage. So I want you to go do some research and realize that you can have local storage, but it's dangerous because if the person's browser does get reset, they could lose everything. So next video, we're going to talk about databases and deployment. All right. So this is Wayne from the vibecodetrainer.com. Hope you've enjoyed and have fun.